Well, all right. Maybe somebody will show up, maybe not. It's a few minutes late. I was running into technical difficulties getting everything set up for this live chat. Today's live chat proudly brought to you by Blackbeard Fire Starters. We've been using these for a couple of years and just got hooked up with those guys for as an affiliate. So I'm going to see if I can't copy and paste this. Copy, edit, paste. So there is a link. You can also use the code TREMIS, TREMIS, at that link that I just posted for Blackbeard, and you will get 10% off. And apparently there's some type of small kickback that I get for sharing it. Blackbeard, I don't know, a couple of years ago, sent me a pile of these to give out to students at bug outs. And so I've given them out every once in a while. And I actually gave one out at the muster too, because they gave me a bunch to send out, or give out. So I've been giving them out. Senior Wexler, hello, Crystal. TJ, they are rope. I don't know what they are, like what's in the ropey, fibery stuff, but they do light up pretty good. I just got their arc lighter, which is like a little electronic rechargeable lighter that has like a little X of like like an arc, like a plasma something or other. I don't know. Willie, hello, sir. But since they just went ahead and hooked us up with a coupon code for people, that made them tonight's sponsor. And you can use the coupon code TREMIS. I'm going to see if I can't type that out over here without leaving the screen. That is the coupon code for Blackbeard to save you 10%. That's off of everything. These guys, the lighters, they have things called fire plugs that look like little earplugs. I haven't used them. Maybe I'll get them to send some out. We'll try them on the next bug out, which I want to say is in April, but I can't tell you the dates. Mikey, hello, sir. Well, coupon. Yes, actually, there's more coupons as well. Start for 2023, since we are out of classes for 2022. 2023 classes, if you have taken a class before and want to take it again, it is $50 off per day. So if you take a one-day class that you've had before, there's a coupon code, and that gets you a day off, or $50 off that one day. If it's a two-day class, there's a coupon code, it gets you $100 off. But you need to have taken the class before. It doesn't matter the location, if it's here in PA, or if it's in Texas, or if it's in Illinois, or if it's in South Dakota, or California, or stuff. I need dates for these things. Well, there are dates all over the website. Crystal, this is where you post up the URL for the website. So Scott is here to hear about the class. Uh-oh, I lost my sticker that says who the sponsor is for tonight. I didn't want to just stick it on my wall, so I used a little, it's going to fall again. Oh, well. Here goes. It went. All right. Dates for the coupons. I don't know. Oh, the only coupon code I think I know of that involves me that expires is one from Defiant Munitions, which will he'll have a new one in 2023, which will be TREMIS 2023, which is 10% off. Then the Blackbeard thing will not expire that I'm aware of. And the coupons for my classes will not expire that I know of. So anyhow, Scott's here to talk about, wants to hear about the class. So we will talk about the class. And I think he's wanting to hear about fish 1 and 2. Over on the Facebook page currently, somewhere near the top is a link to an article from a writer who was in day 1 of class. There he is, Wyke Fitness, Matt Wyke, who just commented. He wrote a bang up article. The pictures are mildly adequate to suck because we took them with phones while we were trying to do stuff, but didn't have a photographer. Tim Larson, hello, sir. But the article is pretty good wrap up of day 1. I thought it was well written. And I thought the class went rather well. It's we did mostly force on paper. Well, on day 1, we did all force on paper, and we ran, I think everybody exclusively ran Blackbeards, not these Blackbeards, but the Mantis Blackbeards. I don't have one up here in this room. Yeah, I gotta say exclusively Blackbeards, I would say. Nobody ran UTM during the beginning of the force on paper. And oh, thank you, sir. Anything with a stoner on it, like that's pretty badass. But it's Navy themed day anyhow, so I figured having a squid on a shirt and my command ball cap would be pretty fitting. But the final exercise of day 1 we did with reactive targets that they're still paper or the cardboard, and you had to shoot them until they were shoot them to the ground. So we used UTMs for the final exercise of day 1. Then on day 2, we went back to running Blackbeards for a lot of force on paper, and we ran as pairs. So there was some different tactics used when we could supplement or what tactics we were using with a little more violence. And the final exercise, we switched back to UTMs, and that was force on force. So were the manas provided or bring your own? For this first run of it, most everybody bought one or had one. One fella had 2, so he loaned one out. I brought a couple of loaners. By the next one, I hope to have, which is not until July or June, I hope to be able to supply the whole class with loaners. So hopefully that'll all work out pretty good, that you won't need to have one. Although if you want to buy one and you sign up for class, we knock $50 off of the cost of class. So you essentially, I mean, you could call it either way, like $50 off the class or $50 off the Mantis. But if you buy them together, there's a charged Mantis waiting for you at class, and you get to take it home. So that part's pretty all right. Hello. The shirt, it is, I don't remember who makes it, but it's that pretty famous picture of a SEAL in Vietnam with a stoner. Big fan of the stoner. So since it's Navy Day, I decided to wear the only shirt I have that had a picture of a squid on it. So next year, when we run Fish 1 again, we're going to do it a little different. We're going to do a 4-hour block on Friday evening, and then a full day on Saturday. We ran this time, the facility opened at 10. We got in around 9:30, and we ran solid until they closed at 8 o'clock at night. And then we did stop for like 25 minutes for lunch. And then the next day we ran the whole same opening to close for Sunday. So rather than ask them if we could get someone to stay late with us and like let us stay longer, I figured it would be easier just to utilize the classroom and shoot house the night before, or the evening before, we'll call it. So fish 1 is the 2nd and 3rd of June, and fish 2 is the 4th of June. Devices work all day. It took us a minute in the beginning to get everybody, I'm going to call it zeroed. Some guys, they were like the laser was hitting the inside of the bore, causing like a weird fucking thing on the wall. And we had to get it kind of centered up. Some guys actually, the guys that owned theirs that hadn't really used them yet, they took theirs and like at the full distance of the hallway in front of the shoot house, zeroed it, like zeroed, so they could, go home and get the right offset and whatever. But yeah, I don't think anyone had any problems with any. The only issue we had was a UTM issue at the end of day 2, one gun, and the guy had a couple of jams, and we just swapped out a gun, and then I wasn't entirely positive what he did to get his gun squared away. Excuse me. He's in here though, Tim Larson. And but for the final exercise when he was the Op 4, someone else just handed him a rifle to use. But that was a UTM thing. There was no Mantis issues. I know one guy ran an X10 on his gun to collect data on day 1, and another dude ran the Blackbeard X on day 2. But I never asked those guys what data, if the data showed them anything they wanted to like use. I didn't check on them. So then here is the next big thing. Yes, TJ was there too. He ran an X10 on his top of his rifle. So June 2nd and 3rd is fish 1. June 4th is fish 2. July 1st is fish 3, night fishing. And July 2nd is fish 4, name to be determined. And it will be entirely comprised of force on force. Fish 4, fish 2 will be the prerequisite. So if you've done the first 2 days, you do not have to do the 3rd day to do the day of all force on force. Just on the scenarios where it's dark, you might struggle because the other guys will have just spent an entire day doing a class using lights in the dark. So it's not a prereq that you do 3 because it's just a day of force on force. But I thought the class went well. It's kind of the direction I'd like to do more classes in. There's a lot of room to explore with training using those Blackbeards, doing force on paper. I mean, you can use UTM, or you can use we had a unit for T&E unit, which I'll talk about here in a minute. And but the advantage of the Blackbeard is you buy it for $250 or whatever, and it's good. That's 10 magazines full of UTM cost more than the Blackbeard does. So if you think you're going to go through 300 rounds of UTM ever, it's cheaper if you can utilize it for the same purpose to buy a Blackbeard. Hello, Becky. We did use the Unit 4 gun, like I just mentioned here a second ago. It worked fine. It has its own downsides, and I'll chit chat here about them and tell you how they go. So luckily, I'm not violating any of YouTube's policies because this isn't a firearm. It literally is stamped on it that it's not. So that is the big advantage of the Unit 4. So it looks like this. It doesn't normally come with an optic or a grip stop. I added those on for the class. Lewis Machine and Tool makes everything from here down and back. So that's all LMT stuff. So that, that's pretty solid. So like the upper, the lower, the innards are all LMT. I don't know who makes the barrel. And the only downside is like, well, okay, there's a couple downsides. That unit without the dot is $1,000. And it has a nice wobbly M4 stock, a shitty A2 grip that I can get like 2 fingers above the finger groove, a nice sharp trigger guard. So I'm looking at $100 to replace that stuff. And then I don't know if you guys can see this here or not. I don't know if it'll focus close enough to see that is a UTG rail. So they actually found a way to put an aluminum rail on here that isn't as high quality as a pair of round like Colt M4 handguards. So you're also looking at a decent rail, because I wouldn't run this thing a lot because it's UTG. So that's, whatever, $150 to $250 for a rail. It did come with some iron sights of unknown origin. They're certainly not the most coolest iron sights. It just flips up, Adam, and then there's like the little tiny button on the side you got to push to get it to go back down. There's no branding on the irons at all. And then like if you run like a T2 and you got to buy another T2 to put on this gun, like you can end up having a non-firearm that's really fucking expensive, and then it can only do that one thing. The advantage with UTM, I mean, if you are a certified UTM instructor, you can buy UTM bolts. If you're not, you can't. Like, it's just the way that it is. But the UTM bolt's like $250. Now the ammo costs more, but like I can take my rifle and just put a UTM bolt in it. And then it's like $1 a round by the time you pay shipping and excise tax to get a case of ammo. It ends up being about $1 or almost $1 a round. The Unit 4 uses these things. I think it's called a T-Pack. And it's got a CO2 cartridge, red gold 12 grams, so they're like 50 cents. This plastic unit that it's in, and these little paintballs. They're pink. I don't know if they come with other colors or not. And then you got to buy these magazines. I don't remember how much the magazines are, but it's a pretty heavy duty metal unit. And then it's got some, you got to open it up. Has a hole in the bottom. These guys drop in like this, some manner or another. One of these didn't want to go in very well. There we go. You break this little tab off, clamp everything down, and it charges the magazine. So then the magazine is fully pressurized. It's got 30 little 8mm paintballs in it, and off you go to the races. When you're done, you take this out, it'll vent, the paint will be gone, and you throw the whole thing away and put a new one in your reusable magazine. I want to say the magazines were $75, but don't quote me on that. Because they just sent me this to try out, so I didn't pay for any of it. So I had 2 magazines, and they sent like 600 rounds of ammo, and we used a few mags worth. It functioned well, but I want to say it's like $20 for the T-Pack. So where normally 30 rounds of UTM is like $30, it's like 2/3 of the cost for the consumables. Its big advantage is that since it's not a firearm, you can take it into Maryland or New York, or maybe not New York, because even toy guns are fucking illegal there. But you can take it places where you can't take firearms in. Like it's got the 3-position switch. Like there are 3 pins on this. It goes all the way to fun mode, but not that I would want anyone to do that in force on force. That's retarded. So the fact that it's not a firearm is its advantage, and that the consumable cost is less, but there's a lot more upfront cost because like students already have rifles. In fact, I can buy a PSA rifle for $400 and a UTM bolt for under $300 and be $700 deep and still be less than that. So that's the downside to it. Nice glass of eggnog. It's that time of year. Well, fellas, I can officially say, since this is a video that can be watched by others, I do not sell UTM ammo only to professional training organizations. All right. So you can read into body language. Anyhow. Matt says no ghost at 8:30. Come on, man. Fucking, I did that last week, and yeah, I went to bed at like midnight. It was something. I went and picked up another case today because GNC gets its deliveries on Tuesday, and they're the only place with the green apple. So I went and picked up a case of that. So the Unit 4 Solutions unit worked fine. Just again, it has its downside. So I might make a video on it. I don't even know how long they're gonna let me have it. Like, I still got a bunch of ammo to shoot. So maybe I'll make like a regular old like YouTube review video of it and put that up too. Except, like, I hate talking about the bad stuff, like the downsides. I'm gonna mention them though, because there's the other bonus. You don't have to be a training organization to buy them. So oh, Adam, speaking of Uncle Jerry, that class we discussed last week, I have dates for it. So if you haven't talked to Jerry, I can tell you when that is. I don't have them in front of me, so I can't tell you like at the moment what the dates are for that medical class. But I do have the cost and the dates, and I am not going to be able to go because I have a prior commitment for my business that weekend. So Mikey wants to know about lever guns. Well, my intent was to get a 444 Marlin Dark, and then Marlin filed for bankruptcy and then went out of business right after they released it, and Ruger bought them. Ruger has not released any of the Marlin line. They started making the Marlins like in Arizona instead of where the fuck Marlin was made. But they have only made 4570s. They have not made any 444s. So when they do start making 444s again, or I find a 444 Dark on the market somewhere, I will scoop it up and I will make it cool with, a rail and a red dot and maybe a can and stuff. So, but no lever gun action from me until the 444 Dark comes out. Jason Hendrick asked about airsoft rifles. So I have one downstairs that I'm about $500 deep in, and I can't get it to work. And because I put extra, like, it came with like a stupid A2 grip, and that's where like the motor is, and I'm not smart enough to get the motor lined up to work right, and it has not the I'll put a Midwest rail on it, but I got to retap the upper receiver because it's some weird airsoft only thread, not like a regular barrel nut thread, which I need to do to put a Midwest rail on it. So the only downside to using airsoft rifles is most gun guys don't have one, and I'm not buying 10 of them, like to have a class. So I think they could work well, especially for the force on paper. and potentially for the force on force, but it can't be like a cheap plastic Tokyo Marui. It's got to be fucking metal so that it can handle the abuse. And I know people at that shoot house have used airsoft because when I swept up all of our brass, for lack of a better word, from the UTMs, there were airsoft BBs like in the cracks under the wall, edges of the walls and shit. So somebody had been using it, but I don't. I'm not going to buy like a whole host of them for everyone to have. Yeah, Scott, you are on to something there. I fucking so wish that somebody had a way to figure out how to put a Magpul stock on a Marlin. But like they do it with the Beretta shotgun. Like, of course I don't know how the lever interacts with where the grip is, or if Magpul could just make a lever gun stock, that'd be pretty fucking sweet. I don't know anyone at Magpul to even suggest that. I'm sure I wouldn't be the first one, but yeah, exactly. Scott, you're on the right ticket. Just needs, if you make that, it'll fucking sell. What do I think about shoulder holsters? YouTube would demonetize this video if I use that language. So speaking of holsters, I talked to the dudes at First Wave today about a drop leg holster with a thumb brake. And they said, yeah, they already make that, but not like for me. And they sent me a picture and I said, yeah, but could you do it this other way with this other feature? And they said, maybe. So I'm going to get a prototype, I don't know, at some point in the next couple of weeks and maybe see like a drop leg with a thumb brake coming out. Nice, Scott. Nice. Yeah, I can't even check the angles like in person because nobody sells the 444 dark that I can buy. I have a Mossberg stock here that I could at least overlay, but I don't have the lever gun. Willie's interested in the scofflaw holster. Well, the only place that will be seen is at the Concealed Carry for Scofflaws seminar because I'm not putting pictures of it out on the interwebs anywhere. Just because the more people know, the more they'll look for that kind of thing. $837, holy shit. For the folks that I know I'm getting all over the place because you guys mentioned stuff. The folks that were in Fish the last weekend, I'm thinking about doing a Fish study group because I could not get a whole weekend at the shoot house except for weekends that were like Easter fucking weekend or weekends I had other classes that I was on, like the trip to Texas, 18 to 20 March, by the way, for a carbine in Paducah, and 25 March in Del Rio for the masterclass. But so I couldn't, on the weekends I was open, they did not have a whole weekend, but I might be able to squeeze a day. And I thought about doing a fishing study group, although there would be cost associated because we got to rent the shoot house. So it wouldn't be like the typical study group that was completely free. We would have to cover, whatever costs we had in order to do it. Ohio shop at the Sim Village. Yeah, that sounds fucking perfect. We should definitely talk. Because I totally wish I could figure out a way to locate a local empty building that I could rent, build a shoot house in that would have full access to, because I would love to have very regular fishing trips in that we, that I could build the shoot house the way with all the things that I want. Damn. Because like the shoot house we have doesn't have like an industrial stairwell. So we can't really do much on industrial stairwells until we get someplace with an industrial stairwell. Although we did go over them, like we whiteboarded them and talked about them a little, not a lot, but a little. We couldn't really demo it because we didn't have one. The facility doesn't have one. Although I did talk to them about it, and if an industrial stairwell wasn't so expensive, they would probably build one because they're serious about expanding the capacities of their. Oh, it's over here. Expanding the capacities of that shoot house. They just shoot houses don't normally make enough money to pay the rent and turn the lights on. So it's supplemented by everything else that goes on in the building. So you got to be careful about how much you spend on it. It can't be just a money pit, which is why I don't have a shoot house here in Bloomsburg, because it needs to be supplemented by something else to cover the cost. Oh, he can make it happen in Toledo. Well, you know how that works. The guy who's boots on the ground is the host, and he doesn't even pay. So how about that? See if I can't make my phone stop making noise because it's vibrating shit out of the shelf back there. No, I want it even lower. I don't want it on vibrate. Actually, I don't know how to get it off of vibrate. It just shows it as vibrating. Doesn't that suck? Huh. All right. Well, speaking of phones, I got a new phone case. They're on the website. The whole line of Samsungs. This is a S10e. No. Yes. S10e. Take it easy, Scott. The stairwell does not need a turn, but if it has a turn, it's even better. Like the more shit we have, the better. If I ever made one, it would have like every conceivable thing would be somewhere in it. I know, like the shoot house we use in Scranton, I talked to them about locations of doors, and she literally said, all right, tell me where you'd like the door to be made. And she wrote it down on the whiteboard, like the to-do thing beside her desk, about putting in a new door in one of the rooms right where I wanted it. So at least that part's good. I'm getting something out of it if we don't got a stairwell. But stairwells are a small part. So I feel confident that we ran all day without having a stairwell. Adding a stairwell would be like another, chunk of time. Without it, it's still a full class. All right, grab my mouse here. So I did have a list of questions, and Mike, I don't remember what Splat House looked like, but most like indoor paintball fields, indoor airsoft fields, they're not set up like actual structures. So teaching someone how to clear a residential stairwell doesn't work if they don't actually have a complete residential stairwell. Just having, barricades inside a building doesn't do what it needed to do. All right. So questions that we had from TJ. He always lists some good ones. Press checks on why they're dumb. Well, you take your gun out of battery to see if it's got a piece of brass in it. And if it doesn't, you run the slide. So you could just start by running the slide. It's like if you have an arterial bleed and you're like, you should raise it in the air above your heart. And when that doesn't work, you go, oh, I'll put a tourniquet on it. Well, if you just started with the tourniquet, it would work. Oh, Well, man, if I just had someone who could be boots on the ground at the Royal Range in Nashville about getting in there, that would be awesome. Just saying. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So one of the other questions in today's list was using a suppressor in your home versus not. And apparently John Lovell doesn't like them for in your house. I vaguely remember him having a video about that, and I don't remember like the reasoning behind it. The only thing I can say is I care very deeply for my wife and child who live in this house with me, and giving them permanent hearing loss because I don't want to put a can on my gun. It's kind of a dick move. So there's that. Oh, hey, okay. He wants everyone to hear, all the bad guys to hear the shot and run off. Well, having fired a lot of suppressed 5.56 inside a building, they'll definitely going to hear it. Like there's no doubt about what's going on. In fact, I have fired suppressed subsonic 22 in this house, and everyone inside the house heard it. Yeah, a suppressed 5.56 is plenty loud enough, and it doesn't cause the same level of permanent hearing damage to my family. And I do not use subs for home defense. I don't think there's a 5.56 sub that, I don't know if they make 5.56 subs, but if they do, I'm sure they don't cycle the gun. I don't own a 300 blackout, so that's not a thing. I have no desire to own a 300 blackout. Not that I have anything against 300 blackout. They just don't do anything that I ever intend to do with a gun, and then I don't want to pay extra for it. Ah, there she is. Heard it, ignored it. Crystal was in my house when I used the suppressed subsonic 22s. Rifle shoulder transitions versus dominant shoulder when working around structures. When should either be used? So I assume that the question is since it's shoulder transitions, that would be hands don't move, just switching shoulders. That can be used so quickly, it's like not changing shoulders. So I don't see a time when that doesn't need to be used. As a full switch left to right, most people can, like I can switch a gun or an AR from my right shoulder to my left shoulder and the time it takes to fire one shot. So if that time frame of like one trigger press is critical, then I can just move the gun over. If I have at least one trigger press worth of time, I can do a full switch. And if you can't, you should work on that. I love watching the videos of the people who just lean out and say, there's no time. There's no time to change nothing. You just got to bury the gun in your shoulder and lean out there. That I always look at it and go, hey, tell me you don't know how to shoot left-handed without telling me you can't shoot left-handed. That's my take on that. And for those of you who have been in one of my carbine classes, you'll know the homework every night is full transitions from righty to lefty, dry practice, which you can do all the time, every time. Like so you can do it with this Unit 4 gun right here behind me while doing a live shot, except there isn't enough room between me and the camera to actually do anything with a rifle. How to best handle a malfunction when working alone, clearing rooms. So this came from Tim, who had a malfunction in his rifle when he was the Op 4 in the Final X. So if you got a pistol, that's when you go to it. And I know we didn't have UTM pistols alongside our UTM rifles. And given a particular situation in your home, you may not either. Like for instance, beside my bed is a rifle. And if I need it in the middle of the night, I'm going to have a rifle and my underwear with no pistol. Uh, However, if it were someone else's house, I might have both. So if you can go to a pistol, go to a pistol. If not, you got to clear the rifle. If you can't clear the rifle, you're going to have to probably put hands on a person if they're like in the room with you anyway. So that might be something to look into. You know, fighting with these things, even though there's guns around. I know there's a couple of folks that do classes on that kind of thing. And then how to best handle when working with a partner. Well, that's perfect. You just transition to their gun. That's why you brought a partner. I had a couple other questions, but one's a big, long topic that we'll have to wait till a different video. I'll just hold on to that question so that if we don't have questions in a video, I can answer that as one long answer. I know what I forgot. I mentioned it was Navy Day. So if you were to go over to tremisdynamics.com in the garage sale, you will see that there are sling dubers back in stock, and there are 3 colors of them. All of them are Navy issue colors. So we have some M81 Woodland sling dubers, just like the M81 uniform that I was issued in the 90s. In fact, if you go look over in the social medias, I have pictures of them, and they're literally sitting on a jacket BDU top that I was issued in 1994, probably. It's a little tight around the everywhere at this point, except the biceps. It's still loose there. Don't know what that means. But so there are Woodland ones. There are AR2, which is the Woodland digital pattern, the wide, and the K model, which is skinnier. And that one comes in both. And we have AR1, which is the Desert Navy issue color. Those are only in the skinny K models. But people have been asking about dubers. Dubers are available. They're on the website if you want Navy colors. If you don't, I won't tell you. That's what I got at the moment. This last run was Navy colors. And they have sold in all the colors so far. So there are less than when I put them up there this morning. I expect that if they sell as quick as they just did this morning, continue to, I will be out of them by the weekend. So usually though, when they go up, they sell more on the first day and then they trickle out after that. So you might be safe, but they did sell some today. Also, if you don't notice, I got my Navy command ball cap for the Tremis Dynamics Training Command. They're on the website too. This was the sample that they sent me. They come in khaki or blue, just like real Navy command ball caps. I thought those would be clever. So those are the 3 new things: the Navy dubers, the command ball caps, and the cool phone case. And yes, my phone is essentially like salmon colored. It said it was orange frost when I ordered it. And I was like, well, that sounds awesome. And it looks like it's salmon. So you can see it in the clear part. It's kind of pinkish and, very manly color, that salmon. So anyhow, I just want to make sure I hit all the questions because we're at 8:53. So I've only got 7 minutes until it's over. Thank you, Crystal, for the hookup on the link to the dubers. I'm almost out of eggnog too. Pretty cool cup, isn't it? I got that from the company I buy my mead from. And now it's out. Gone. No more. The eggnog has vanished. Yeah, I think that's all the big news. So I'm going to copy this too for those that have been here watching. Copy, paste. This is the code for 50, or that's for $100 off of a 2-day class if you are a repeat student. And it's going to shock you what the 1-day code is. But if you have taken a class before and you're going to take it again and you use this code, you get, if it's 1 day class, you got to use the 1 day. If it's 2 day, you got to use 2 day. I think the coupons are set up so they only work in the proper classes. But you have to put in the notes when you took the class before, or when or where, something like that. There's a decent chance I will remember who we're talking about. Like anybody that I've seen type today that have been in the chat and said, "Hey man, remember I took your pistol class in Del Rio or whatever." Probably remember, but I suck so bad with names. I still have all the spreadsheets with the rosters. So if you tell me you took it, I can at least go double check and make sure that you are eligible to get the $50 off per day. So like if you wanted to come to the all 3 days that I'm doing in Paducah and you'd already had dynamic carbine and day 3 carbine, you could get $150 off by using said coupon codes. And then you'd be like, hey, I took it in Del Rio, so now I'm taking it as a repeat up in Paducah. And I would check on my list and you'd get your money off. And yay. But knowing the coupon code, you won't have to necessarily message me to get the code or to figure out how to save your money or call me to sign up for class. If you have to do that yet, because you can't find the code, you remember hearing me talk about it and don't know where to locate it, it's fine. But if you know the code and you're eligible, you can just use the code. I'm going to put the codes in the alumni page, the Legio Tremis Facebook page. I'll probably list them on Patreon as well. I know not everyone there is an alumni, but you get the idea that if you need it, you can always just message and I'll get you squared away. But they'll be posted up there in case you want to use them. I think I hit everything I needed to on my list, unless you guys got some more things you want to talk about. I know lately in a bunch of circles, the fish class has been quite a topic of conversation. So if your questions hadn't been answered in any of the various social medias or the endless signal messages that I've been getting, now's a fine time to ask because we got a couple more minutes, like 3 before I'm punching out of here. But if you don't have them, that's fine too. And or if you got questions on any of the gear we used at that class, like I think everyone knows UTM and how superior it is to Sims. I think we've talked about the Blackbeards enough that people got a good idea for them. So I guess if you got any questions about the Unit 4 gun, I don't know if there's a whole lot to ask, but I am going to shoot up the rest of the ammo they gave me. So if you had some ideas, I would roll with it. Something I am going to try, because it's winter here, in Pennsylvania in December, although today you wouldn't know it, but it has been cold. I want to use that in the cold since it runs off of 12 gram CO2 and see if we get some degraded performance like traditionally CO2 does in the cold, just for my own use, because like even if a shoot house isn't heated, it's usually warmer than like fucking outside. But I would like to know if, hey man, it's 28 degrees outside, how well does the Unit 4 gun work? I think we'll prior knowledge of CO2 guns, I think that might be a little sketchy. Oh, TJ wants a better mask. Yes, I will. I can point you in the direction of some that are much softer on the bottom, so they conform better to get behind your optic. Nothing will work perfect. I did take an old JT mask and literally cut. So like the factory mask was only here, and then under the cheeks, I took a piece of neoprene and cut it and attached it with zip ties so that it was completely soft, so it would compress to get a really good cheek weld. And I run like my face is buried in a rifle. I can run like an aim point with no riser. And I could still do it with that modified mask. However, the problem is once you modify the mask, it no longer meets the ASTM requirement. I was doing it for my own benefit of wanting some level of protection without, so like not just going with no mask and just goggles. But so I wanted to modify it and see if I could still have something to protect me, like the neoprene, without going so low as or getting low enough. I know there are things that Simunition and UTM both sell. They're like a neoprene wrap, and you wear with just goggles so that it's soft. But insurance-wise, if I using those, I'm not positive they meet the requirement because I don't think that portion meets the ASTM F1776 requirement for your insurance to cover the safety gear. So even though UTM sells those things, I can't promise that they meet the requirement. So I can't say that's some way to go. All right, I got 9 o'clock. I'm going to get out of here next Wednesday is the 14th. So we only got like 2 live chats maybe left. Oh, don't forget, there is a Yule training day. So on the 25th of December, here in Bloomsburg, we're doing a training day. It's $20. The range that we're using that I'm a member of, it's not really set up well to do classes, like big classes, but something more informal, like a day. We do a couple things out there. We did some study groups, and for class wise, the Zero workshops out there, and we usually do the Yule training day out there as well. So we collect like the $20 up, and we give it to the club as a thanks for letting non-members come use it on the 25th. So if you don't celebrate Christmas, because it happens to be Christmas Day, if you're one of those types, it also is one of the 12 days of Yule. So if you're Jewish or, some other type of cool heathen thing, you can come out on that day and we'll do some fun shit. I usually bring a big pile of hot Invader coffee for everyone. And that's going on here. So you can sign up right on the website if you want. And you get all the details, and we'll go out there and have a fun day at the range while everybody else does whatever weird Catholic holiday they do. So TJ, if your choices are get a new mask or the Goobers mount, you could buy I think I bought 10 rental masks, like the loaners that I bought, for less than a Goobers mount. So, if you're looking at financial wise, I think the mask might be the better way to go. Just a thought. Although at that class was the first time I got to play with a Goobers mount, like in person. It was okay. I bury so far down on a rifle that I wasn't a big fan. Like I could sit my chin on top of the stock, which is fine. But I would rather shoot a gun without it touching my shoulder and have a real low cheek weld than have it on my shoulder and a real high cheek weld, because the shoulder is irrelevant to shooting a rifle, and the cheek weld is great for shooting on the move. So yes, Adam, Pat has his own signature coffee from Invader. So that is the stuff that he drinks. And unlike the Black Rifle Coffee Company, Invader doesn't send a bunch of political donations to anti-gun PACs. What's weird is like they think we won't find out when you donate money to a political organization, that's public record. The political organization is required by law to report it. So they were sending money as early as June of this year, 2022, in June, sending money to anti-gun organizations to promote anti-gun candidates. So I'll keep drinking the Invader. All right. So with that, I am out of here. I will see you guys in a week and maybe something cool to show. Maybe I'll get the First Wave guys to get that prototype drop leg up this way. Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of pushing it. All right. You all take it easy, and I will see you in a few days.